Okay, now we are on the question set 37. So let's read the first question. Which of the users registered with the shop uh, is living in Kurunagala? So therefore we have to create a view for this. Um, so let's create the view. So we cannot use the graphical method. Um, which of the users registered in Kurunagala? That is the question. Um, so yeah, so let's write the query. um, so first of all we can write a search query, so that's what I'm going to do now. Select all from earlier shoe center dot we can search for the user table, and let's execute this query and we will get the user's details. Here you guys can see we don't have the user's address details, so let's take a look at the address table. So it's you guys can see this is the address table. uh, does the user have anything with the address? Yeah, he does have. You guys can see the user has. Okay, so we can merge the address table, so therefore I'm going to say inner join address table, and in this case address tables address id is going to be matched with user tables address id. By doing this we can get the user's address as well. So yeah, and now we have to mention the condition. So the condition is Kurunagala, the city name. So do we have the city name here? We don't have, because you guys can see we only have the city ID. So therefore we can join the city table. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Join city on city table city ID is going to be matched with address tables address city ID. Now we can get the city name as well as city ID. So we have the city name here, you guys can see, and now we can write the condition. So the condition is where city tables city name is Kurunagala. Okay, so now if I execute this query, you will get the users that used to or still living in Kurunagala. Okay, so this is search query. Now we can store this as a view, so we can use this whenever we want to use the query. So that's what I'm gonna do now. So I'm gonna use the create here, and after that I'm gonna say create view, and we have to give a name. So in this case user from Kurunagala, you can say user from Kurunagala, and we have to say as, as save this query. uh, Okay, so let's execute this query. We have an error, and what is the problem? Duplicate column name address ID. Where? So it's because I guess let me explain the error. So I guess it's because there are two IDs within the same. There are two columns with the same name. Two columns with the same name. Okay. that's what the problem. So let's so you guys can see here the address ID in the address table. Also there is another address ID in the what is that, in the user table, I guess. So that was the issue. So therefore we cannot create a view. So that's why what I did was I basically selected what I exactly want. So in this case, the user's first name, last name, contact number, city name, gender ID, also the, the number, address number, city, the street 1, the street 2, and all this data. Also we can join the gender also. So we don't so that let's do that. So join the gender table, join gender 1, gender tables gender ID, and match the gender tables gender ID with user tables gender ID. So now we can get the user's gender name here, this one. Instead of getting the gender ID, we can get the gender tables gender name. And now we can create this as a view, and I named it as address from Kannadhasan, or we can say users from Kannadhasan. So let's execute this query, and now we have to refresh, and we'll get okay. Did we get okay? We have this. You guys can see users from Kannadhasan, and if you execute this query, how to execute a view, select all from, we can just say this, select all from users from Kannadhasan. So let's execute this query. Hopefully, okay, I got the right answer. So yeah, that's how the first one, and we can move on to the second one here. Update the query statement required to get user ID, first name, last name information in the view created above. What is that? Update the query statement required to get the user ID, user ID, first name, last name information in the view created above. Uh, what that does mean, I don't have any idea. So we had to update the view, and in this case we only need the we only going to save the columns, these specific columns, user ID, first name and last name, and that's all we need. So let's take a look updating how to update a view. So here this is the syntax: create or replace view, um, and after that we have to mention the view name, and after that we have to mention which are the columns, I guess. Yeah. And after that we have to write these conditions. So we can just simply write mention the table. uh, okay, so let's do that. So I can basically say create or replace, create, or do we have any suggestions? Replace. Okay, replace users from Kannadhasan as. Uh, now we have to mention the columns. So I hope this works. So let's say select what we need. This is from Kannadhasan dot first name. What we need, user ID, first name and last name. So that's all what we need. However, do we have the user? Do I have the user's ID? Let's take a look. I only have the first name and last name. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create the query, and I'm going to drop this one in here. I'm going to create another. I'm going to say the user ID. So user dot user ID, and now we have recreated the view. Let's take a look. Okay, so now I'm going to again select all from users from Kannadhasan. If I execute this query, I should get the user ID. Okay, I have the user ID. Do I have the first name, last name? Okay, I have these columns, first name, last name. So I only need user ID, first name, and last name. So that's why I had used the updating query, the view updating a view. So create or replace. Okay, let's take a look. Create or replace users from Kannadhasan as, and I had to say column 1 and column 2. Select users from Kannadhasan dot user ID. I need the user ID and users from Kannadhasan dot first name, users from Kannadhasan last name. Let's execute this query. Okay, we have an error. So what is the error? Check the manual. Okay, so the error was I had to rewrite the whole query, and I just had to change this one on only. So also I had to mention which are the columns that I only need. So the user ID, first name, last name, and the rest was just joining the address table and city table and the gender table. So that's how it goes. But however, I can rearrange, and I can code it just for the question. So that's how it should look. So let's create the view. I have already created the view now, and let's see. Okay, we have created the view, and now we have to rewrite the the updating view query for updating the view. So let's write it. So first of all, we have to say select. No, we don't have to select. We have to say create or replace. So create or replace view, and I have to mention the view name. So in this case, users from Kannadhasan, and I have to say s, and I have to now I have to mention the columns. So select city, sorry, user tables user id, and user tables first name, and user tables last name from the user table. Earlier shoe centers, earlier shoe centers user table. After I had to join I had to join the address table. So add join earlier shoe centers address table, and in this case address tables address id is going to be matched with user tables address id. And after that I had to join the um, what else I had join the city table, earlier shoe centers city table, and in this case on city table city id is going to be matched with address tables address city id. And also I had to join the gender. We don't have to join gender because in this case you only need the user id, user first name, user last name, uh, and I have to write the condition. So the condition is where city table city name is what I need. So it's going to be Kannadhasan. So I guess this is pretty much for the answer. And now let's search the view. Let's take a look at our view. So select all from users from Kannadhasan, and if I execute this query now, I'll get only the user ID, first name and last name. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much for the second one. Let's take a look at our third one. Create a view to see all the GRN must include GRN ID, GRN date and provider name, and it is not necessary to enter details of the items purchased here. Use the name of this view as GRN view. Okay, to get a better understanding, we have to take a look at our GRN item table, GRN item table or GRN table. Okay, GRN table. Take a look what we have in the GRN table. We have GRN ID, we have GRN date, we have user ID. So, however, we need the GRN ID, we need the GRN date, we need the GRN provider name. It is not necessary to enter details of the items purchased here. Okay, so we need the user's details. Therefore, we can join the user table. It's not necessary to enter the details of the items purchased here. Use the name of the view as GRN view. Okay, so let's create the GRN. Let's create the view for the GRN. So first and foremost, I'm going to write a search query in the GRN table. Select all from early issue centers dot grn, and let's execute this query. But make sure uh, we have commented these. We have made these queries as a comment. Okay, so this is the grn table, and I need the users details, right? they have mentioned the provider name, so I need the first name of that provider. So therefore I had to join the early issue centers users name and on user tables user id and grn tables grn user id. And if I execute this query, I'll get the user's details as well as the status, contact number, and I don't need all this stuff. I just need the grn id, grn date, and the user's first name. So that's what I'm gonna do now. So I need the grn id, I need the grn purchase date, and I need the user table's first name. And I just only need these columns, and if I execute this query, I'll get this specific result. You guys can see I have GRN ID, I have GRN date, I have the first name of that user, and I just eliminated the other columns. I didn't eliminate, I just used search query, so I won't need exactly. I can eliminate. Okay, so now we can create the view. So I can say create. What is the syntax? Let's take a look. Create view, and we have to mention the name, and after that we have to use the s. Okay, so create view, and what is the view name? The view name is grn view. So grn view, and we have to use the s keyword. Okay, it is a keyword. We successfully created the uh, view, the grn view, but to make sure we have to refresh and we have to reopen the early issue center database, and we have created the grn view, and we can test it again just by using this select all from grn view. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much for the question 3. We can move on to the question 4 here. GRN view, the GRN view you created above includes the details of all GRN purchase items, and rearrange this view. In this view, it is sufficient to display GRN ID, GRN date, first name, last name, product name, quantity, unit price, and selling price, and all these stuff. Oh my god. Okay, so they're talking about GRN item table. Uh, okay, we are talking about the GRN item table. So in this case, join the we had to join the uh, we had to join the GRN item table with the GRN table. Also, we had to join the user table. So that's how it goes. So let's do this. So we have to say create or replace uh, create or replace grn view as, and now we have to mention, but before let's write the search query. So select all from grn view, sorry, grn item. So in this case I'm going to search from grn item table, and now I'm going to join the grn table. So join grn table and grn tables, grn id, and grn item tables, grn id. grn item id. So if I execute this query, I'll get the grn tables details as well as grn item tables details. And now get I need to get the customer table, the user table. So therefore I have to say inner join user on user tables user id with grn tables user id. By doing this, I will be able to get the user's details, the first name, last name, and contact number. And now we have to get the details. Now we have to fit out the columns. So in this case, we need um, the grn id, grn date, first name, last name, product name, quantity, unit price, and selling price. So I need the grn id, grn date, and first name. So let's go. I need the grn id. I need the grn date. I need the user's first name. Okay. Grn id, grn date, the first name, last name. So I need the first name and last name as well. Dot last name. And also they are asking for the product name. Therefore we have to inner join the product table. So inner join product on product tables product id with grn item tables product id. And now we can mention the product name. So grn date, first name, last name, product name is the one. So product tables product name. And after that, what else we need? We need the quantity, unit price, and selling price. So it is from the grn item table, quantity, and grn item tables, unit price, and grn item tables, selling price. And let's execute this query. Hopefully I won't get any errors. Okay, so grn id, grn date, first name, last name, product name, quantity, and unit price, and selling price. So now I had to just use this. So now I'm going to just say what is the query? Create or replace view, create or replace view, and we have to mention the existing view, the grn view as. And if I execute this query, the grn view will be updated. So now we have to refresh, and let's make this as a comment. Yes. And now let's search for the grn view, select all from grn view. And okay, yes. So this is the answer for question 4. That's pretty much for this question set 37. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.